Ready? We have about 1 minute. 3:30. And today we have Allie Sharp from Langston University, where she is an instructional designer and the director of faculty development. And she is going to be sharing with us some best practices in email accessibility. Thanks, Allie. I'll monitor the chat for you and let you know if somebody's asking anything.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And if anybody can give me a shout on times when if the sound goes out. So first, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to turn on closed captioning. And in your Zoom, you can do this by clicking on show captions. That's what this image is showing. You'll see the number 1 on here, and then it says captions, and you can choose your language, see the transcripts. If you are viewing on a phone, it might say the CC, or some older versions say live transcription. We are also able to follow along on PowerPoint Live. I am going to, oops, I thought I was going to put the transcripts on. I'm going to show you this real quick, but then I don't want to block people's Zoom transcript if it's happening. We can have live PowerPoint subtitles, and usually I have them on the top, but today they went in on the bottom. So you are able to turn subtitles on your on PowerPoint Live, or on PowerPoint in general, through the web version, but you can follow along on PowerPoint Live. I will show you a QR code. This will allow you to move back and forth between slides. You can turn on captions and subtitles in your language, any language you want, and you can watch and hear the videos through your own device. This is very easy to use as a viewer, but trickier to set up as a presenter. Sometimes things get a little wobbly on the screen. I am actually, that is not the right web address. Hang on and let me go back into that because that's not the right one. The right one should be this one. So hang on. Oh, and now you can see how I set up the subtitles. I'm going to put them on above the slide. There we go. Is meant to be. So to do this present live, we always set it to presenting it live. So when I go back in, you'll be able to see how this happens. There's beautiful Langston University with our thing. And then here is we should be seeing our present live screen. If that is working for people, please let me know. If it's not, I might need to generate a new code. Did that work for everybody? Or did it regenerate one? If not, if it's good, I can still put it in. You'll see it in you'll see it at the top of my screen as well. So here will be some notes about it. Oh, there we go. It's this one. It's a new code because it changes each time. So if you want to join by QR code and follow along on your own device, there you go. So the address may be a little bit different than what will be on the Zoom screen, but you'll see it at the top. So anybody who is logging in by typing, it is ppt.ms, and then the codes are 3U9EX4TJ. And if somebody wanted to throw that in the chat, you're welcome to. But you can see the reactions flying up. You can do this. Anyone can do this. Sometimes it's a little wonky, but that's just how life is anyway. So why not? And then I'm going to click back on my slides. So some notes on participation, which people are finding already. There's navigation tools at the bottom of your screen. You can move the arrows to go back and forth. You may have to press the little button that says navigation tools. You are able to change your subtitles and captions. They are automatically generated, so please forgive errors. They are not always perfect, but if you would like to also watch this with Swedish subtitles, go for it. And as many people are discovering, you can turn on the emojis and use emoji reactions. They come right on the screen. You press the little gray emoji, and then next to the letter B, you can see there are the faces and there are the emojis. And it is wonderful as a presentation, as a presenter to see them. Afterwards, you get like a little email summary that tells you. So You can also notice at the top of my Zoom screen, it says follow along at, and it has the address. So people can always join in. So now let's get over to the presentation. We will be talking about best practices in email accessibility. That's why there is a computer with a graduation cap. And we'll talk about how you can reach your audience however they get your messages. I'm Allie Sharp from Langston University. You can see that proud Langston Lion logo right there with our orange and blue colors. Here's a fun fact, the little stripes on the lion's mane. There's one for each campus. So if some of you are like, okay, it is 3:30 and I may not be able to stay forever, let me show you the most important thing is that Outlook, unfortunately not Google, but Outlook has an accessibility checker. It is different from all the other places in Microsoft. It is on the options menu and it looks like the what is becoming more and more often an accessibility icon of a person, sort of that Brazilian man, that Da Vinci man with a check mark. So that if you ever like, this is the most important thing. If you're like, I'm going to tune her out, tune me out after this. If you use Outlook, go to the options menu, check accessibility, most important thing. So a little bit about me. Alicia did that fabulous introduction, and so thank you very much. I am at Langston, where I'm the Director of Faculty Development and Instructional Designer. I'm so fortunate to be the co-chair of the Cole Accessibility Subcommittee. Many people here are on that committee, and I'm so happy to be able to co-chair with Natasha Brown, with Natasha Brand from NEO. So I get to hear that accent all day long. It's so fun. My email, if you ever want to reach out, is sharpa@langston.edu. And I do have a podcast for our faculty. We sometimes talk about accessibility. It's called LU Monday Moment. It is a weekly podcast that comes out whenever, sometimes not even every month. So here's my accessibility focus. I have some experience with ease of access business and education tools. I was a classroom teacher in Stillwater for many years, and I was also a technology instructor for Stillwater schools, like a tech trainer. After my teaching was I taught gifted ed. But then I was also a business and community tech trainer for career tech, usually through Meridian, but sometimes through Gordon Cooper and some of the other career techs. So I have been a public school teacher, a university level teacher, and a career tech teacher. My background in technology is that I'm a Microsoft Innovative Educator and Trainer. I'm a Google certified educator and trainer, but it may be out of date, so I might have to say put that in the past tense. I have to check the date. And I am currently working on my Canvas Certified Educator certificate. So today we're going to talk about communicating with our accessible content. Several people today, Adam and Christina, have shared the ADA guidelines, and really they help us today and they help us tomorrow. And what the law says is that people with certain disabilities still get to have those essential services, and that we need to make sure we communicate effectively with people who have communication disabilities. And that is from the ADA. So we're going to talk about the most important thing, which, as you know, is the accessibility checker and some common scenarios. So why do we want to make email accessible? It's because, as you can see by this little AI generated image of all these little envelopes who have all sorts of things that they're bringing to the table. Some have glasses, some have other abilities that they're using that AI imagined in many ways, like eyeballs falling out. But we are designing a party for that everyone can enjoy. And that little animation didn't go. Okay, imagine that word said everyone in an exciting way. It might if you're following along on your phone. But we are designing a party that everyone can enjoy, not just the people who RSVP'd with special requests. Some of the challenges that people reading our emails have are mobility. And you might be at first thinking, like, mobility? Well, yeah, they might be using a different device than yours. It's not just a mouse. They may be using tabs, or they may not be using a device where they're seeing it. They may be having it read aloud to them, hearing it, or they may not be hearing the content at all. So they need to be able to have content that can be seen. So here's what some of your emails may be looking like to other people, because we really don't know what tools people rely on to access our emails. It could be that they're reading on their phone with a lot of small text and they're relying on AI to summarize it. It could be that they are using a device where this is an iPhone, but it's reading aloud and they're moving through each email, having it read aloud. So we don't know how people use it. And people can be using things I listen to my emails sometimes on the way to work on my phone and then read them on my computer. So we don't know what they're doing. So we want to kind of design that for them. Um, so I am hoping that the sound on this works. If it does not, I will need to go into the Zoom and change the settings. So let me know if you do not hear this sound. But the emails we send may not look the same. This is Immersive Reader, which is a tool across Microsoft, and this is seeing it in Outlook. So,
February 18th, 2025. All campuses to continue remote operations and virtual learning on February 19th. Dear university community, with the
so thank you for those of you who put the thumbs up so I knew the sound was going. What looks in my email as something with images and something with a lot of text, for someone using Immersive Reader, which is often me actually, because I'm listening to things while I'm working, it doesn't have all of the image. It doesn't have the vibe, but it does have the content that is necessary to know. So what we want to check before we're sending, one way is just to use that Immersive Reader tool and the tab key, or to use a read aloud. But we want to check for accessibility. We want to check for it along with spelling and content. We want to correct issues. And even if you are using Gmail, which does not have an accessibility checker, you can still test it. You can still right click and listen to the read aloud. We want to make sure our emails are easy to read and easy to follow. Our fonts are standard business fonts. Adam talked about this and put some information in the chat, and he talked about color contrast. We want to make sure the URLs are linked, which I'll show you in a minute, but we want to make sure attachments are noted so that people who are listening will know, go to the document itself, get that attachment. When it comes to audios, images, and videos, we want to make sure that we have text, either alt text or content described. And if you are including videos in your email, like if you're attaching them or whatever, we still want to have those audio and video transcripts. I do that with my podcast. I have an automatically I put them in Word. There was a presentation I did actually a few years ago for Oakless where I showed that. And I include the transcripts. And a lot of people tell me they do that instead of listening to the podcast. They just read it. But again, the most important thing, Options tab, check accessibility, and it will guide you through making the necessary changes. So when it comes to attachments, we don't want to send them if people can't use them. So if you are using Microsoft, it has this accessibility piece of you go to the review tab and you choose check accessibility. Then it will guide you through making changes and give you why. It may not be perfect. It will not get everything, but it's better than nothing. Adobe, for those of us who have been talking about PDFs in the chat, Adobe, you go to All Tools, Prepare for Accessibility, Check and Fix. Google does not have a built-in accessibility checker, but there are some extensions for people who use them. This says, so Outlook email has an accessibility checker. Another way to find it is to go to Message, and then you can go to Options on the 3 dots and choose Check Accessibility. If you have an older desktop version of Outlook, you would have a File tab and you would choose Inspect, but I don't think anybody still has that. These screenshots are from office.com on the web. So let's talk about the common issues. Here, the first one really is URLs. And the question to ask is, would you say that website aloud? Kind of like when I did what we're seeing at the top of the screen where it says ppt.ms and then the numbers. yeah, I would say that aloud, and I did say that aloud. So if somebody was asking me which website to go to learn about OCO and OCLIS, I would not say the HTTP. I wouldn't say all of that, right? I would say this, ocolearn.ok.org. So if you're trying to decide, should I hyperlink it or not? Is it something that you want people to type in, like they need to know to go to langston.edu? Then I would type it out so they could see it. If it's long, we just want to hyperlink it. So you can use the emojis if you're following along, you can put it in the chat. You could even actually just like unmute, or maybe Alicia can tell me because I won't see the chat right now. Just tell me when you want me to make it stop, okay? So this is a Zoom link, a typical Zoom link, and you can hear what it's like for people who are using the audio.
Join Zoom meeting https://ononut.zoom.us/J522332-871 PWD equals XL8Q01.
All right, the emojis are coming in to make it stop. To do that, I did the right click and read aloud so that they can see the Zoom meeting. All right, here we are with Immersive Reader. Again, use the emojis or give a shout when you would like the horror to stop.
Join Zoom meeting. https://oninet.zoom.us/j/522332-871 PWD equals XL8Q04.
And we are ready to stop very quickly. This is why we want to do hyperlinks for our URLs. They get pretty painful pretty fast. And those are even like mild ones compared to some of those really long Zoom ones. And that wasn't, by the way, a real Zoom address. I changed some strategic digits in case somebody was like, ooh, that was mine. It wasn't. I changed some digits and I made my own Zoom link for it. So here's how to create hyperlinks. This is the process that is common for every platform. I'm using the Microsoft one, but we would select the text and choose insert link, or it can be like we can do a, sometimes you'll see the little icon that looks like it. So on my screen, what you are about to see is, I'm gonna come over and I'm pasting the text as plain text. And the reason is that you don't want to have crossing over links. And then I choose the little icon for a link and I paste in the web address. So when I go to the paste, I chose paste as plain text, and I'll show that in other ways. So now I'm going to press play again with the audio, and we can hear how different this is for the same Zoom link. Maybe we can hear it. I don't know. Let's see if it did it. So I selected it and let us see if it plays it, because I think it should play it. So I paste it in, I say, okay. And then when I typed in the message, then instead of having the long address, I just use zoom.us/join. There's also one for Teams that's like that. Maybe it's on the next slide. Here we go. Now we're going to test it out. Right click, and I'm going to choose start speaking.
Join Zoom meeting or go to Zoom must join meeting ID 522-332-871, passcode 68014.
Other than the 68,000, that's a much easier way.
Join Zoom meeting or go
Okay,
to.
shush, 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 hush. So that's a much easier way. All I did was I took that URL link, selected it, put it in, and said Zoom meeting. That's the difference for people. It declutters the screen and it declutters the auditory environment. Another common issue that has been mentioned today is about the fonts and the colors. So the test question for alt text is, what would you tell a friend? The test question for visual is this as easy to read as a street sign? Whoa, that is many things to read, isn't it? Oh, you're getting a preview. So coming back into that one, is it as easy to read as a street sign? So this is our Oakless in a gorgeous fun font that is absolutely so difficult to read. This is in a plain font with the serif I that has the little cap. It's easy to read. So that's your guiding question. Is it as easy to read as a street sign? In order to remove formatting from fancy fonts, right-click on it and choose Paste as plain text, or the keyboard shortcut is Control plus Shift plus V. That in a super fast way, you can remove all formatting in fonts and then make it something you like. So you don't have to go through and figure out like, oh, this color, this bold, whatever. You can put it in plain text and fix it how you like it. It is called Paste as plain text. The image on the screen shows a mouse with the right mouse being highlighted, and it shows the menu option for Paste as plain text. So we're going to test this. I'm showing it first in Google Docs, and I'm using the example of if we have, this is from a newsletter. If I just wanted to show this one column from a table, because email and tables don't always go along very well, I can just select the text, and I'm actually selecting it and copying and pasting it, except the video doesn't seem to be playing. So I'm going to choose copy. And then when I come into my Google Docs, I choose paste without formatting. There's the text, very easy. And then I can go in and do a bulleted list or a numbered list, which is an easier way for people than using tables, especially in email. But you can see it didn't copy all the green, it didn't copy all the formatting, because in a document, it makes sense to have a table. But in a quick email, if I just needed people to see that much, then all I needed to do was show them that. So I'll show you that same idea in Gmail. I'm going to take that same email and copy it, that same newsletter. And then when I copy it, I'm going to come down to the very bottom icon and choose plain text mode. Microsoft does not do this as well as Google does. So with Microsoft, you want to use the keyboard shortcuts. You can or choose paste as plain text when you right click, but Google actually just has it as a menu option. So that's one thing when you're sending emails. If it's really like a table, but all they needed to see was a list, just do paste as plain text, and then they can see the list and you can format it in that way. So let's talk about creating those bullet point lists. So when we are in Microsoft, and this is actually true for Google as well, it's the same icons. They're lines with either dots to the left side or numbers to the right side. When we have pasted in our plain text or any text that need to be formatted, we choose, we can select our text and highlight it, or if you know in advance, you can just press the icon and press it. But you select it, and then you can add your bullets and numbering. And when you check the accessibility, it will show you that it is accessible content. So I'm going to select my text, go to Format Text, and choose bullets or numbering. And then there is the number. And if I press the Tab key, it indents it. On Google, you'll see it on the menu bar below. And then when I check accessibility, it tells me it's okay. We want to do that instead of like typing 1, 2, 3. Because of the way how some readers will format it, we want it to be easy for it to be adapted to people's different devices. So that indicates, as Adam was saying, sometimes we want those indicators for navigation. By using bullets and numbering, like we use bullets for non-sequential information or unordered lists and numbers for sequential information, that's one of those cues that Adam was saying for the skimming, like skimming a newspaper. Lists let us know, oh, this is a list. It helps people with navigation. So we talked a little bit about fonts. We want to use clear fonts. And one of the things that I do is I look at specific letters and numbers, the capital I, the lowercase l, and the number 1. and I try to make sure that the A has a story, like a second story, you know, instead of the A's that we learned to make in first grade. I do also check like EC and other and O, but those are the ones that when we're looking at emails, we really want people to be able to see them. So when you're checking an email, select it. This is an Outlook, but Google is similar. And then it's called a quick toolbar. But as you scroll through it, even if you come up to the format text, you can just see how all the different fonts look. And so you can see, does the A go from looking like an O, or does it have a second story? So it kind of depends on what you're writing. But if you want to have bold text that looks, you know, strong and seeing it, and yet the letters are a little too jumbly, all you have to do is select the text, and then when you go into seeing your format text, you can see all the different typefaces and select a font that meets your needs. So it's called live preview. So you see it while it's selected. You don't need to go through and check each one. And then you can apply it to your whole document. So the ones that I like to use and the ones that you have been seeing in this presentation under the headers, I use Aptos Serif, which is the new Microsoft font. I use Tahoma, and I also like to use Times New Roman. And I use Garamond sometimes. So here are some more common issues and corrections. This was what I was doing during this meeting after you guys told me that you use Gmail. Images do still need alt text. And as has been said today and several times, we want to have alt text for clear, readable information. What would we tell a friend? So in our email, we're going to insert the picture, and we choose in Microsoft, you choose picture formatting. In Google, you'll click on the picture and it will show the toolbars. And then in Microsoft, we check the accessibility. So I will show you Google first. So here is my Gmail. And then I'm typing my message in, because that way, even if there's no alt text, they can know like, hey, here is an image of a graduation cap on a gold background. And then when I select it, it gives an option that says edit alt text. You have to actually click on the picture to see that. You can see it like there's the picture on the screen, and then below the picture, it says edit alt text as the fourth option. You only see that. Those are called contextual tabs. You only see these contextual menus or contextual tabs on if you've selected the picture. If the picture is not selected, you don't see that tool in Gmail. So I select it, I select the picture after I've typed it in, and then when I click on picture, browse, and insert, I can select edit alt text, and then type it in and press apply. So I had named my file in a way that made it super easy, but that's how we do it in Google. And now let me show you in Microsoft. In Microsoft, you will come in and you will get to see my many spelling errors on this one. And again, I'm saying attached for an attachment, right? Where I'm going to attach it and put it in. And then check my spelling. And then I'm showing you the inline text. So an attachment, we do not get to add alt text to an attachment. We add alt text to an inline one, and then I'll come up to picture format and choose alt text. And I'm saying it's a graduation cap on a gold background, then press OK. I will show you what this looks like with an alt text, with the accessibility checker. It passed. Now I'm going to add in a picture and not add alt text. So there's no alt text in there. I'm going to options, check accessibility, and it prompts me to fix it. So it's having me enter the description and fix it. So even if you forget to add an alt text, or even if you have 2 or 3 images and you don't want to do it all at once, and you want to do it all at once, you can just do the accessibility check and it will prompt you. However, note that it didn't prompt us about the file itself that was attached, only inline images. So when you are naming your files, you want to name them in a way that if people are downloading that image from a file, they know what it is. So with attachments, no matter what attachment it is, we want to name it so people know what it is when they download it. A lot of times some files can have kind of weird names, you know? So what I'm doing on the right side of the screen, you're seeing an image, well, a GIF actually, of me right-clicking on my computer and choosing rename and changing what was just a date to the name newsletter for spring 2025. My images all say graduation announcement, gold background, whatever. So that way, even if it doesn't have alt text as an image, because sometimes images do not, and it can be tricky, by putting the title as whatever the alt text is, it will very much help people with images. Another tip is to say, I have attached. In both Google and Outlook, it will have this bonus that it will prompt you. If you say, I have attached this document or this picture, and then you don't attach anything, both of those programs will say, did you mean to attach something because you used the word attached? And sometimes it's annoying, like if you're writing, like my dog has attachment issues and won't let me sit in a chair. But generally, if you say I have attached, A, it tells the recipient that you've attached something, and B, it prompts your emails to remind you, especially Microsoft, like, hey, didn't you say you were going to do an attachment? But I've seen Google do it as well. So support for your email version. As I said, Google does not have built-in accessibility. However, Google does have accessibility resources. So you would have to, I'm using Google as both a noun and a verb right now. You would have to Google accessibility, and you will find their disability support. Microsoft has a very strong commitment to accessibility that is consistent and growing. So if you were to go to Microsoft support, and you could just Google Microsoft support, or I guess, okay, it's painful to say it, but they would want us to Bing it. When you go to Microsoft support, you will see they have what's called the Disability Answer Desk, or for businesses and schools, we would go to the enterprise one. And they have an actual email address that you can email them, or you can do sometimes chats or whatever, and they will help you. So if you're saying to them, if you were to say to them for any Microsoft document or any Microsoft service, I am trying to create this email or this attachment or this whatever so that it can be used, this Microsoft product to be made more accessible, they will help you do that. They also have training videos. They have resources for people with disabilities. So if you have a disability and you are creating emails, they can help you finding the tools and the options within your email client to help your accessibility, or when you're creating things yourself. But as you can see on the screen, they have alt text, they have templates, because then the colors and everything are already set up for you. They have accessible PDFs, they have training videos, and they have their disability answer desk. And that's for Microsoft products themselves. So for example, I didn't really, and then you can choose like which version you have if you're on Android or a website. So I didn't get into the headings as was mentioned in the chat in some of our conversations. But if you were like, oh, I do need to work on headings and styles, they have that information in there. They have trainings, they have videos, they have how-to guides, and they have an exceptional disability desk that is so helpful. And they have a lot of information. And because most of us, those of us who have the Microsoft 365, the enterprise, we have quite a bit of support, but even people with the home accounts have an enormous amount of support from the Microsoft Disability Desk. So I just Google Microsoft support when it comes to those things, but to search for Outlook accessibility will help you. And I shared this in our presentation on February 6th, but I love it so much that I will share it again. There is a very familiar and friendly face on our screen of Mr. Rogers. And I like to think about how ease of use and accessible learning tools help us be good neighbors. There is a famous story because Mr. Rogers had a goldfish on his show. And in his book, Letters to Mr. Rogers, he talks about a letter he received from a girl named Katie. Dear Mr. Rogers, please say when you are feeding your fish because I worry about them. I can't see if you are feeding them, so please say if you are feeding them out loud. And here's Mr. Rogers using alt text before it was a thing.
Of course, things don't always turn out to be just the way we plan. But we'll make believe about that another day. There you are, fish.
So he said things don't always work out the way we've planned, but we'll pretend about that another day. Here you are, fish. In context clues from Mr. Rogers. It's always good to be a good neighbor. So, do we have questions? I'm going to put the beautiful Langston campus image up and my name and my email. And then now I'm going to move so I can see the chat. But if anyone has questions, if you've got questions, I've got answers. And if I don't got answers, somebody else on the screen has answers. And if we don't, Google does. So, any questions? All right.
Holly, you did a wonderful job as always.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. And thank you for playing along with my emojis. That was so fun for me to see. And I will now, I guess I've stopped sharing.
I have one question. If
Yes.
so I've been trying to find the checker on my Outlook and it's eluding me. I'm sure I'll eventually find it, but
I'll show you. I will show it to you. What version of Outlook are you using?
I'm using I'm using a desktop version of it. And I used to be able to find it. And then they changed everything.
I know. They're like
After I
Walmart.
do find it, is there a way to pin it to the ribbon or add it to the ribbon?
Okay, so do you see options up on the top?
I do not. I have to go to, let's
If
see.
you want to share your screen, we can see it. If you don't mind sharing your screen. If
Somebody
it's too,
said
if
it's
you've
under
got stuff on
review.
there, you could just open up a new email.
Okay,
but-
sure. Sure.
Or if you don't want to share your screen. that's
Yeah.
fine.
Sorry, it just takes me a little while.
Oh, that's okay. I just realized I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what if this person doesn't want to share their screen because they've got.
No, it's
Here, go
fine.
ahead and open up and
It's all
pretend
good.
you're. Yeah, pretend
Yeah,
you're
so-
writing an email, okay?
So here I am, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay. So then go ahead and
And
make
then-
a brand new
okay,
email.
so
like you're typing.
brand new email, right? So
Uh-huh.
here I am.
Now, do you
Okay.
see options over there on the like? 'Cause
Yes,
it's contextual.
yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and there it is.
There. Okay.
I will
I
pay
just
you
need to open
later.
an email.
Yes.
It's paid. Okay. No
And
more questions. Thank you.
You are welcome. And I'm so glad you shared that. And thank you for sharing your screen with us because I think I didn't really say that. And it's so important to know that. Just as I showed with Google that you have to click on the picture to see the tools come up because they're contextual. In Microsoft, you won't see the check accessibility until you have something to check. So you won't see check accessibility on someone else's email, but you'll see it on yours because you're writing it. So you'll see it on the writing and email screen, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, like you won't be checking somebody else's emails. I mean, if there was like you would not do it through that accessibility checker. But there is also, if you are writing emails or listening to them, that's where you'd go to the View tab and go to Immersive Reader if you wanted to hear it. But to check accessibility when you're writing emails, you just have to actually be in the email, and then all those options show up. Yes.
Allie, this is Margot. If I could jump in, I have a different version of Outlook, also the desktop version on mine. And our admin and I were looking for it while we were watching the webinar. It's actually under review instead of in options. And
For pointing
when
that
you're
out.
replying to an email, it's actually on the ribbon bar up top. So I guess different versions will have it in different places.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And Christina has put in the chat about how you can customize the ribbon in office.com. That there is the review tab is where it should be. That is where it is on every other product. And so I think it's because they tried to lighten it up. So yes, if you go to review, you'll see accessibility. If you don't have a review button, you will see it under options or message and then the 3 dots and options. Thank you so much for sharing it, for sharing that. And thank you for that great tip. I appreciate it. Clarissa says hers is under edit on the Mac. On the Mac, I use the web version, so it does make sense. It would be under that. Are there any other questions? I'm just getting caught up on the chat. So
Thank you, Allie.
thank you.
We're
very
gonna
much.
jump to the next session. There's a lot of questions, a lot of interest in this one. This actually would probably be a really good talk subject